All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call this meeting to order. Good morning, it's 10:01. It's April 26th. I want to welcome everybody back to the regularly scheduled California Board of Equalization. My name is Malia Cohen. I'm chair of this body, and to my right is, Tony Vasquez, and to my left is the vice chair, Mr. Mike Schaefer, and all the way down there on my left is retired Senator Ted Gaines. So I want to welcome everyone back into the rhythm of things, acknowledge that we are in a season of transition here at the Board of Equalization. This is our first meeting in person after a couple of years of being on Teams and online. Want to also just acknowledge that the controller will not be joining us today, and a designee has not been appointed just yet. And to the clerk, could you please call the roll? Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Cohen. Chair Cohen,
Present.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Present.
Member Gaines,
Present.
Member Vasquez,
Present.
Controller Yee is absent. We have a quorum. A quorum is present.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are physically able, please join me by rising, placing your right hand over your heart, and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, excellent. So far, so great. We're off to a fantastic start. All right, please call the first item.
The first item of business is an announcement regarding public safety and boardroom procedure. Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'd like to remind the audience to silence your cell phone and any other wireless device to facilitate order in the boardroom and to ensure that all meeting participants are not distracted. All persons appearing before the board are asked to conduct themselves in a professional manner. The Board of Equalization current COVID-19 guidelines and procedures require that all BoE employees must always wear a mask while inside a BoE facility or while attending a BoE event. You may remove your mask when you're presenting before the board as a speaker while sitting at the table. Masks and hand sanitizer are available to all and can be found in the back of the auditorium. As you may know from our public agenda notice, you may provide a public comment in person, in advance, or both. To speak before the board in person, please complete and submit to the clerk a public comment appearance sheet located at the front of the auditorium. If you wish to speak before the board by telephone, please dial the phone number and access code provided on our agenda and follow the instructions of the AT&T moderator. If you wish to submit a public comment to be read into the record at the appropriate time, simply fill out the public comment submission form found on our additional information webpage in advance of today's meeting. After the presentation of any item has concluded, we will begin by identifying any public comment requests that have been received by our board proceeding staff in the auditorium. Then we will identify any public comments with the AT&T moderator. Then we will read any public comments received in writing in advance of today's meeting. Accordingly, if you intend to make a public comment today using the AT&T operator, we recommend dialing into the meeting on the teleconference line, as the audio broadcast on the website experiences a 1 to 3 minute delay. If you are presenting before the board as a speaker or making a public comment, please adhere to the professional protocols and come forward when your item is called. Please take a seat at the table and place the microphone directly in front of you. You may approach the table when your item is announced or when your name is called upon to make a public comment. When giving a public comment, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience and understanding. The safety video has been shown to the audience in the auditorium. Please make note of the emergency exits. The chair will maintain order in these proceedings. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I just want to do a sound check. Was everyone able to hear the clerk? You might need to turn your mic up just a little bit. it was just a little hard. I think you might be able to use the mic on a desk. All right.
Thank you.
As we figure out that, let's call the first item. Please call item C.
Item C?
I'm sorry, please call item, I think we're going to go with I.
Yes, correct. We're taking an item out of order.
Yes.
Our first order of business will be item I-1. Other chief council matters, resolution confirming powers of the executive director, discussion and adoption of resolution conferring powers on the executive director. This item will be presented by Mr. Nanjo.
Good morning, Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Schaefer, and honorable members of the board. The draft powers conferred on the executive director by resolution has been attached to today's pan and your materials for your consideration. This document describes the powers to be conferred to the executive director upon the board's resolution. Many powers are vested in the executive director by statute, but the resolution provides clarity when interacting with control agencies such as the Department of General Services and the Department of Finance, and this facilitates smooth and expeditious activities when dealing with the execution of contracts and other such necessary services. Please note, in preparation of this draft, the prior conferred powers were reviewed for consistency. Additionally, I have also attached the prior executive director, Ms. Fleming's conferred powers, which was adopted by this board on February 26, 2019, for your reference. Thus, the legal department recommends the board's adoption of this resolution, but I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you very much for the presentation. Colleagues, I was wondering, any comments? No? Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to say a few words. First, on behalf of the entire board, I'd like to just recognize the outgoing executive director, Ms. Fleming, for your years of tireless advocacy, your commitment, your devotion to the Board of Equalization. Thank you. This is an opportunity for us to acknowledge you present. I think that the board is stronger and equipped to fulfill its constitutional and statutory responsibilities because of the dedication and the integrity, not only that you embody, but that you've also embodied in your staff members and your hirees. I know you're looking forward to retirement. I know you're looking forward to this transition, and you deserve it. You've earned it, and we are here to celebrate you and to congratulate you and to wish you the very best. And I want to just say some remarks to the incoming Executive Director, Ms. Stowers. I want to congratulate you on your appointment. The board looks forward to working with you in this new and a very exciting role as we continue to modernize the Board of Equalization and fulfill our constitutional duties on behalf of taxpayers here in the state of California. So thank you for accepting the call. And colleagues, with that being said, I will open the floor to any of you if you had any remarks, parting remarks from Ms. Fleming, or welcoming remarks from Ms. Stowers. Anyone? Mr. Vice Chair, I'll start with you if you have anything.
Well, I've been impressed with Ms. Stowers ever since she sat on the dais with me here, and I feel we're most fortunate to have her to continue to work with us, and even a more intense capacity. I mean, she has a resume that won't stop, and we're only adding to it, and that's good.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else, gentlemen? Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to put my 2 cents in, especially to Ms. Fleming, for all her time. I know when we all came on as new board members, we were all just kind of struggling, trying to figure this whole piece out. And I know she was actually at the time coming up in terms of the new executive director as well. So we were all kind of on a big learning curve. I think most of us on a larger one than hers, because she's had, I believe, some, I don't even want to mention the years, but quite a bit of years here, working here through the BoE. And I really appreciated your guidance and support, especially when I was the chair, because it was real helpful. in terms of getting your assistance and support. And for Ms. Stowers, little did I know when she was sitting next to me all these years how much expertise and experience she had until I had an opportunity to review her resume and then have a more in-depth conversation with her. And I'm really looking forward to working with you and actually now in your new role for you to provide some assistance and guidance to take us, the board, to the next level. It sounds like from what I'm hearing and what I've read, I think you're well equipped to do that, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity to work with you a little bit closer, and not only here, but also at the Capitol as well.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to also just add on here in terms of the great job that Ms. Fleming has done as executive director, and really developed a friendship with you and appreciate what you've done. I think you've done a great job in terms of providing leadership to the board and a great advisor, keeping us in the lane, so to speak, so that we're as productive as we can be and focus on what our duties are as members of the Board of Equalization. And it was a tough period because the BoE was redefined, and you were coming into that dramatic change, and then bringing it to us as newly electeds and making sure that we were operating in the right fashion. So thank you for that leadership. I just hope you'll have a great retirement and be able to do a lot more things with your husband. And I hope his health is improving as we speak here. And also very excited about Ms. Stowers coming on as executive director, and just excited about what I think you can do for us, because as Tony had reiterated, we learned a lot from you just because of your institutional memory and how does government work, right? And taxation and things of that sort. So those have been very helpful for me just as a member of the Board of Equalization. And now as you take this next step, I'm very excited about the opportunity that we have to work with you. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to remind our former executive director at how impressed I am with the experience you brought to the job. Because of all the colleagues up here, I'm the newbie. I haven't been in public office since 1965 to 71. And Ted came here from the Senate, Tony came here from Santa Monica, Malia has come here from history in San Francisco that we all are impressed with, and I was on a learning curve, and you were a great help to me.
Members, thank you. I'm not sure if I've got a mic check here, but members, thank you for the opportunity. Executive Director Stowers, thank you for the opportunity to comment. I just want to acknowledge your kind words. They warm my heart. I appreciate the opportunity to have served you for these past few years. It has been a great pleasure and my highest honor to be able to participate with you. We've done a lot to try to rebuild the organization, now focusing now on the revitalization and the modernization, and your leadership has been extraordinary. Your partnership and allowing me to work for you as your board secretary and the agency's executive director has been a great pleasure. So you're in good hands with Ms. Stowers as you continue this modernization journey. I think there are some wonderful things ahead of all. I'll still be in a special consultant role behind the scenes supporting you for a few more months here, and then look forward to just keep an eye on you all as I move forward into retirement. So it's been my pleasure and my honor, such a blessing. So thank you all, and thank you, Ms. Stowers, for this opportunity. Thank you, members.
Great, thank you.
Good morning, members, Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Schaefer, and all members. I just want to briefly say thank you for your vote of confidence. I'm looking forward to working with you in a partnership to moving the Board of Equalization forward. And thank you to former Executive Director, Ms. Fleming, for all of her service and commitment to this organization. Again, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, now, Mr. Nando, are you coming back up? make a pres-
Yes, I am.
All right.
Thank you very much, Chair Cohen. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions, or the board, at their pleasure, may approve the draft powers conferred on the executive director by resolution.
All right, great. I'll make a motion to adopt the board conferring powers to the incoming executive director, Ms. Stowers. Is there a second?
I will second it, and if I have an opportunity, I did have a couple quick
Sure, go
questions.
ahead.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Downey, now that we have you here, one of the things I was looking at in the resolution, and it was more of a question, I guess now moving forward with Ms. Stowers, and I guess is there any language in the resolution that in our opinion would contradict the language or intent of the board in its 2021 governance policy? Are there because there's two documents, are they consistent, I guess is my question.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Member Vasquez. We did take a look at the board's policy, governance policy, and the documents are very consistent. They're based on the same statutory scheme, and they harmonize nicely, so there are no issues there.
And I guess I guess it would be for Ms. Stowers, but unless there's other questions of Mr. Nanjo from the board.
I have no other questions. Colleagues, nope, no questions.
Mine just
Ms.
a quick
Stowers.
one for Ms. Stowers. Now in your new role, do you see, now as we're hearing from Mr. Nanjo, especially on those two issues, policies, I know you were real active and have some history with those two documents. In your opinion, are you seeing any potential conflict or is there consistency, I guess, in these two documents that are out there on the governance?
Thank you, Member Vasquez, for the question. The governance policy as amended, and even the original document, is in line with the government code. I see it as a living document that the members have accepted and following, and there are some items within that document that requires the executive director to carry out some duties. Most importantly, the executive director's communication with the board members. And I am committed to follow that communication protocol to keep the members and your deputies informed on the operation of the agency. So I do not see any conflict. I think the two work well together.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I did second it, so unless there's other questions, I guess bring it back to the chair.
I think we're ready for the vote. Thank you.
We could take public comment.
Yes, please.
Yes.
We have not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments, but we will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter at this time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening by phone, if you would like to make public comment, please press 1, then 0. An operator will gather your name and your organization, and we will introduce you for your question. One moment, Madam Chair. Once again, 1-0 for public comment. And at this time, we have no phone participants have queued up.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, or Mr., yeah, Moderator, right? Let's call the roll.
Thank you. Chair Cohen has made a motion to adopt a resolution conferring the powers of the executive director, with Member Vasquez seconding. The roll. Chair Cohen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Vasquez.
Aye.
Controller Yi, absent. The motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations. It's official. Could you please call the next item?
The next item is C1, public hearings, property taxes, state assessees, presentation on valuation of state-assessed properties. The board will hear state assessees' presentation on the valuation of state-assessed properties. This item will be presented by Mr. McCool.
All right. Hi, Mr. McCool. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Cohen and honorable members. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. I am here to introduce the state assessee's presentations on the valuation of state assessed properties. Under Property Tax Rule 903, the board provides state assessees with the opportunity to make public presentations regarding the valuation of their unitary property. Today is the second of two opportunities, the other being at the February meeting, where state assessees may come before the board and make presentations regarding matters affecting their annual valuation. These presentations are informational only and do not require any board action. I am not aware of any state assessees that are planning on making a presentation today. However, I will note that the State Assessed Properties Division staff has met with many state assessees already this year to discuss specific matters related to their valuations, and we will continue to make ourselves available to any state assessee that would like to meet with us. That concludes my presentation for this item. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Colleagues, do we have any questions for Mr. McCool? All right, let's see if there's public comment.
We have not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments on this item, but we will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter.
Thank you. Currently, no one in queue. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, to public comment by phone, press 1, then 0 at this time, please.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No action is taken on this item.
Once again, no respondents.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you call the next item?
Yes. The next item is J1, Administrative Consent Agenda, Approval of the Board Meeting Minutes for the March 29th, 30th, 2022. The minutes for March 29th, 30th, 2022 were attached to the public agenda notice for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, this is a pretty routine matter. Any questions or clarifications or edits? All right, seeing none, let's take public comment.
We have not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments. We will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment on this item.
There's currently no one in queue for this item. Once again, for public comment, press 1-0. And again, we have no respondents.
All right, thank you. Members, would anyone like to make a motion on this item?
So moved.
All right, thank you. Motion made to accept.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Vasquez, seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Please call the roll.
Chair Cohen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines, Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Controller Yi, absent.
All right, thank you. This
The motion passes.
motion passes. Thank you. Call the next item.
The next item is J2, Administrative Consent Agenda, Invitation to Annual Meeting of the Board and County Assessors on October 19th, 2022.
All right, thank you. Got a couple comments on this item. So colleagues, let me say that I look forward to our annual meeting with the county assessors. It's actually these meetings that provide an opportunity for us to hear the issues, many concerns that our 58 county assessors may have. It's also a chance for us to hear a vision that the assessors have on how we can continue to work together to improve the modernization and property tax administration. So later on in the agenda today, we are going to hear a report from our property tax director, Mr. David Young, where he will present to us a report on the issues raised by the second district, the district that I represent, from the second district county assessors at the breakout session that took place during last year's 2021 annual meeting of the Board of Equalization County Assessors. So I presented these issues to the board at our December board meeting. Since then, Executive Director Fleming and her staff have been working diligently to respond to these issues. It's my intention to meet regularly with assessors in the second district during this quarter of this year. Our first meeting took place this month on April 7th. And these meetings are just merely examples of the close collaboration that's needed between the assessors and the board. I'd like to also thank the new executive director, Yvette Stowers, for her previous comments that all board members should report out concerns raised by assessors in our annual district breakout discussion. Deputy Controller Stowers was spot on, and when she made this recommendation. And so this year, as part of our annual meeting, I am proposing that I recommend that each of us consider reporting out our concerns that county assessors that they've raised during your district meetings. So I think that will lead us to have a very robust meeting in October, something that we could channel our energy and focus on how we can work together to continue to modernize the property tax administration. So with that, I'd like to open up to see if there are any comments from my colleagues, and if there are, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm too also looking forward to this opportunity. I think it was great that we did it last year, and I think it's a good suggestion and recommendation that we report out in October after our meetings, because I know when you, especially, I'm looking at my colleagues here that represent 20 plus, some of them I think even 30 counties. Myself, now I'm down to one, but one big one. But at the end of the day, I think it's real helpful just to hear, especially from my colleagues, on some of the issues, because we forget, the state of California is so huge, between the rural, small counties, and then the huge urban counties that we have. I mean, there's 58 counties in that state, and I think there's so much to learn, because in some cases, there's things that we could share and hopefully duplicate throughout the county, or throughout the state. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Colleagues, anyone else? Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, thank you very much. Member Vasquez raises an interesting issue, because I think I've got the extreme in terms of the number of counties. I represent 34 and you represent LA County, and isn't it interesting they're equal in population, right? Because
Yes.
they've got to be that way in terms of district representation. But you can get a lot of variety and a lot of different challenges and issues that need to be addressed in many of these different counties. So I think, I like the idea that Chair Cohen is presenting to us, that we have these meetings with our assessors in our districts, and then bring that back and share what we learned in the meeting, and we can collaborate and work with one another.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Great, all right, thank you. Let's hear from the public, and then we'll take a motion.
We've not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments on this item, but we'll go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this item.
Currently, there are no callers in queue. Ladies and gentlemen, to comment by phone, press 10, please. And once again, we have no respondents.
All right, great, thank you. Let's call the roll. All right, sorry, before we call the roll, I'd like to make a motion to move to approve the invitation to the county assessors to meet with the board on October 19th, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second made by Mr. Vasquez. Let's call the roll.
Chair Cohen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Controller Yee absent. The motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. Let's call the next item.
The next item is K1A, Executive Director's Report, Organizational Update, Report on the Status of Pending and Upcoming Organizational Priorities. This matter will be presented by Ms. Stowers.
Thank you.
Good morning, members, Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Schaefer. I have 3 items that I would like to report on today. I am Yvette Stowers, your Executive Director. First of all, for item A, I would like to say thank you for the appointment to serve as the Executive Director. I am honored and thankful for the board's confidence and the opportunity to work and partner with each of you to continue rebuilding, revitalizing, and modernizing the Board of Equalization. I'm also excited and humbled to be leading this agency, and I'm very much looking forward to working with the amazing BoE team made of stellar, professional, and dedicated employees. I have come to know them over the past years in various roles, and I know that they are excellent. Once again, thank you for placing your trust in me. Also, members, I would like to acknowledge our first in-person meeting in 2 years. Staff has done an excellent job to structure this room. We have cameras, and we are also still practicing social distancing. The public is available to comment via telephone or via, when necessary, via virtual. Again, thank you, staff, for taking this time to organize this meeting. And finally, for this item, I would like to comment that on last Friday, the Board of Equalization was featured on Jeopardy. I'm sure most of us saw this. If you follow social media, you saw the post. But the question was, California Board of Equalization ensures assessments are fair in levying these taxes, the main source of local government revenue. As we all know, the answer to the question is property taxes. This question highlights the opportunities and importance of the BOE's critical role in California property tax system and inform those who may not know. I believe BOE is now trending on social media. My next item is K1B, extension of time to complete local assessment role. Members, Revenue Taxation Code Section 616 requires county assessors to annually complete their local assessments role by July 1st. Section 155 provides that the board or the executive director may extend by 30 days the deadline for any official act by the assessors. In the case of public calamity, the deadline may be extended by 40 days. Section 155 requires that the executive director inform the board of any such extension at its next regular meeting. This report is to inform you that Los Angeles and Shasta County assessors have requested and been granted a 30-day extension for completing their 2022 local assessment role. My final item is K1C, annual report overview. And this is an overview for the 2020-21 annual report. As you know, members, the BOE reports annually to the governor as required by Government Code Section 15616. The BOE released its annual report for fiscal year 2020-21 in March 2022. In conjunction with a news release highlighting the property tax levies increases over statewide, that increase was 6% from the prior year. I would like to talk about some of the highlights within that report, with your permission.
Yes.
The total net statewide county assessed property value was $7.1 trillion, resulting in $79 billion in local property tax levies. The property tax levies contribute $43 billion to schools, $36 billion to local government. As noted, this is an increase of 6%, or a $4.5 billion increase in property tax levies from the prior fiscal year. In 2021, the BOE set the value of state-assessed properties, primarily privately owned public utilities and railroads. The values were set at $123 billion. This was a $3.5 billion increase from the prior year values. State-assessed properties produced $1.9 billion in local property tax revenues for the 58 counties. BOE also administers and collects the private railroad car tax, which generated $9.3 million in state general funds. As we know, the BOE is responsible for administering the alcohol beverage tax program, which produced $405 million and the Tax on Insurance Program, which added $2.7 billion to the state. New in this annual report is an acknowledgement of the BOE role in implementing Proposition 19. As we all know, we spent a great deal of time in 2021 implementing this proposal. It highlights the accomplishments that the BOE made during this time period. Accomplishments that was not just agency-driven, but was driven by the board members and our stakeholders. In sum, the BOE plays a critical role in supporting our schools and our communities through the $85 billion in fiscal contributions to the state and local government. Finally, I want to acknowledge the amazing contribution of the board members, again, that each one of you guys played during this time period. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for that high-level analysis of the report. Perfect. I love the fact about the revenue. Can you state that one more time for the record, how much the Board of Equalization is?
$85 billion
Yeah.
contributing to our state, local government.
Awesome.
Most
You got that?
importantly, our schools.
Most importantly, our public schools. Thank you. Mr. Vasquez.
Along those lines, you know, when I was looking at, I guess it's on page 12, the report where you showed the $1 bill, and it pretty much spells out that 54 cents of each dollar, you know, goes to our schools. And then I believe it says that 14 cents goes to the counties, 13 cents go to our cities, and 19 cents goes to other. What does other mean?
Good question.
Very good question. Schools, counties, cities, other.
Fire districts?
Yeah, you know, thank you. Special districts, fire district, local district. So there's still support at the local area, local government area.
That's what I thought. So it's kind of misleading. Well, I guess it's not real clear because I thought it was going back to the districts. I didn't know there were special districts, but at the end of the day, they are other counties, right? So I was just wondering, so the amount is obviously higher, I think, would be for counties and cities, wouldn't it? If they're going back to those districts.
Yes. Sir, if you like, let me drill down a little further.
Please, I appreciate it.
And break down exactly what it's going to, and I
Okay.
can report back out individually and back next month's meeting.
Perfect. And then my second question, if I could, Madam Chair, it was just on page 15. The report states that the Property Tax Department answers, I guess they answered 3,144 calls and 1,017 emails on Prop 19 this past fiscal year. But I could not find where Prop 19 calls and emails received by the taxpayer rights advocates. Are they in the report somewhere? I couldn't find that. It may be buried in there, but
I'm sure it's buried because we know our advocate filled a great deal of those calls.
that's what I kind of figured. It just
Again,
wasn't, it didn't jump out.
It didn't jump out. It's probably most likely in the Taxpayers' Rights Annual Report,
Okay,
which I don't have in front of me. But again, I will confirm that that count includes TRA or it does not. And
I appreciate
again,
it.
state on the record what the TRA did, because we know that she did a lot.
that's what I kind of figured. It just doesn't come out, it didn't come out in the report somewhere, or at least I didn't see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question. I have a question. I love the annual report. I'd love to get a couple copies before I leave. But one question that I have is I see that, like on page 13 and on page 13, and then also like on page 12, you've got the percent from change from the previous year. And I was wondering if you or maybe a member of your staff could speak to some of the drivers that that have driven the increase. So for school purposes, from fiscal year, we were at, we have a 6.1% change. I was wondering if anyone could speak to us as to what drives that change, why it's increasing as opposed to decreasing.
Staff, do I have someone that can speak
Sure,
to
Mr.
it?
Young is heeding the call. How are you, Mr. Young? Good to see you.
Thank you.
So what drives these changes? And then when we look at the revenue summary, particularly on page 13, they got 6% for county assessed property tax. Tax on insurers is 3.8%. State assessed property tax is 3.6%. Talk to me a little bit about that increase.
Thank you, Chair Cohen, honorable members of the board. It's David Young here, Property Tax Deputy Director. For the property tax departments, for the property tax components, most of the drivers of an increase in the taxable value of the roll and its a resultant taxes, they're mainly due to two items. One is it's basically tied to the economy's California economy as a whole. The increase in the appreciation of real estate, as real estate is either one, built, or two, sold and reassessed, those account for a big majority of what drives a property tax roll, what drives an increase in a property tax roll. As you recall, Prop 13 limits the increase to 2% a year if there is no new construction or a change in ownership, a sale of real estate. And the other big driver is basically investment in business property. So business personal property, as the state does better, they invest and buy more of this type of taxable property. And so it increases the roll. And of course, that type of property is not subject to Prop 13. So that does go up and down with the economy. So the two main components are sales and new construction of real property and investment in business personality.
Now, it is forecasted that as inflation continues to go up, and the feds have increased interest rates,
Yes.
that although the state of California is in a very robust position, right? I think we found $46 billion or something like that for our state budget. It is projected that we are going to be having and facing an economic downturn. And what, if at all, could we project about the future of our assessed property values? When there is an economic downturn, would we be able to, one, weather such downturn in terms of our property value, or shall we be planning for the downturn to impact the amount of revenue that property taxes are bringing in for the state of California?
Well, I believe we were seeing some signs
Right.
of a downturn. Real estate, at least in the residential area, has
Cooled.
cooled. It has not retreated, but the rate at which it has been appreciating has slowed down a little bit. Part of that is due to the rise in interest rates. So mortgage rates now, purchase money rates are about 5%, and so that has basically almost doubled as of the last year. So there is some cooling there. As we have learned in the 2008 economy, when that does happen, the state actually goes through what they call Prop 8 reductions. So as the market value of real estate drops below their factored base year value of Prop 13, there may be a drop in some of the assessed value. But overall, as a trend, California, if you take a look at how our property taxes have been trending in the last 2 or 3 decades, it's been growth, albeit slower growth at certain points, but it's been growth.
Thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the property tax revenue is stable. It's one of the most stable sources of revenue compared to personal income tax that fluctuates as a result of the market fluctuating. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Over the last 40-plus years of Prop 13, one thing that Prop 13 has done is that it has stabilized the property tax revenues over the long run.
And so, let's see, property tax revenue is $85 billion. What is the personal income tax revenue? I don't know if you know that figure off the top of your head.
No, not figure it out.
Let me, excuse me,
You look it
Madam
up,
Chair.
no problem.
I may have something. In front of me, members, is the March 2022 Statement of General Fund Cash Receipts and Disbursements that the Controller publishes. And I have the income tax, personal income tax projected revenue for glasses. Is estimated for 2022 to be 88 billion. 88 billion. Personal income tax is the main revenue source for the state of California.
Right, and I'm sorry, what was that figure for personal?
88. That seems like a lot. 3, 6.
We'll double check on that figure. I think it
Yeah.
actually might be a little bit more.
Yeah,
So we'll circle back on
yeah.
that.
Actually, it's 98. I have to go to the next column.
Okay.
But I will report back out, I will pull up the current January and even the May revise.
Okay.
It would definitely be in there.
Definitely, you're right, in the May revise. And it sounds like it's down from the last annual report. I think last year we might have been at 127 billion. So, anyway, I don't want to dominate the conversation on this. Colleagues, do we have any other questions or anything? Yes, Senator Gaines?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us the annual report. Appreciate it. And I just thought it was interesting taking a look at the 10-year summary of net assessed value of state and county assessed property, because as Chair Cohen had also mentioned, I mean, it's been consistently increasing over time, right? So you showed that, I'm looking at page 9, where in 2012, we had $4.4 trillion in property value, and in 2021, that's now $7.2 trillion. So that, and pretty consistent, because even in 2012, 13, 14, we were kind of, the economy wasn't super robust either, right? We were still kind of slowly coming out of the Great Recession. But I also wanted to highlight the, on page 10, the exemptions that are available for nonprofits. And it's always nice to see a breakdown and where that, how those break out in terms of the number one exemption is for charitable nonprofits at $143 billion. Is that right? In value? That's a property value exemption.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then hospitals is second at 40 billion, and then colleges is third, and homeowners exemption is fourth. And then it drops down, it shows others, religious, other exemptions 26. I'm not quite sure what that is, but we have religious at 18 billion, disabled veterans at 9 billion, private schools at 3.8 billion, churches at 2.5 billion. So nice to know that those are available, right?
Yes.
That there are certain organizations that we deem as a state that are of such value that they get the exemption. So thank you for presenting all this. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Young, on your listing of letters to assessors, you mentioned a complete listing of all LTAs issued to date can be found on our website. Do those go back to 1879 when we started out, or when did we start with letters to assessors? Have you seen letter number 1?
Thank you, Vice Chair Schaefer. Unfortunately, it does not go all the way back to our inception. We've started our LTAs, I believe, in the early 70s, first as informal advice, and then we later on basically numbered them and put them in a compendium for easy reference.
So we went 100 years without letters to assessors.
Not formally as such, but we did issue guidance and other communique with assessors, and so we just, at that point in time, we organized them and basically made them available.
So we're refining how we do it as time goes on.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much for the presentation. Oh, Mr. Vasquez?
One quick one, and Member Gaines brought it up. The other exemptions, what falls under our other exemption? I'm just curious now.
Yeah, so there's a catch-all category of other exemptions. There are other things that may fall in there that are generally charitable that may not be enumerated in one of the other ones. One of them is probably museums. And so there are other exemptions. There are exemptions for certain types of aircraft. And so it just catches some of the other smaller exemptions.
Now that you bring it up, I'm just thinking, would school properties and city properties fall under that as well?
Well, there is a separate category for other nonprofits for schools. So they would fall on, a private school would fall under that one.
No, I see the private school, but I don't see public schools.
For public schools, they're generally not, they're not taxable because they are basically a governmental property. So those would not need an exemption. They're
Same with cities, is that the same?
correct, absolutely.
All right, thank you. Let's take public comment.
We have not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments on this item, but we will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this item.
For public comment by phone, please press 110 at this time. We have no respondents in queue.
Thank you very much. So this is just an informational item, so no action is needed?
That's
Let's call
correct.
the next item.
The next item is K1D, Executive Director's Report, Operational Priorities, Report on the Status of Operational Priorities. This matter will be presented by Ms. Renati.
Thank you.
Good-
Hello.
Good morning, Chair Cohen and honorable members. My name is Lisa Renati. I'm the Chief Deputy Director. Today, I will report on some of the agency's operational priorities and projects. The first item is in regard to our workforce capacity. Since our last meeting, we have filled 3 positions. All 3 were internal promotions, and we are currently actively recruiting for 65% of our other vacant positions. As you know, this is one of our most important focuses. We're making sure that we have our workforce capacity solidly in place. Another operational priority I'd like to report to you involves the implementation of BoE's updated telework policy. Starting April 1st, we began the process of returning employees to the work site using a hybrid in-person and office work model. As we transition to the new model, the safety of our employees is of the utmost importance, and so we are following all directives of the California Department of Public Health and CalHR, and we provided staff with current COVID-19 guidelines and procedures. The last item is a brief update on the feasibility in implementing Google Translate on the State Board of Equalization's website and board member web pages. Our communications department is collaborating with CDTFA Web Services regarding this matter, and currently the team is conducting feasibility studies, and they're looking into other things, including cost, risks, accessibility issues, and other implementation factors, which need to be considered before we can implement Google Translate. Once the analysis of the feasibility is completed, we'll come back to the board and let you know where we're at. And this concludes my presentation on operational priorities, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Ms. Renati, I have a question about the translate button. How often is this team meeting?
They are, as far as I know, they're meeting at least weekly, if not, every couple days.
Okay,
Mr. Kim is
Just seems
constantly
like a-
working with the Web Services Department.
okay. And what is the timeline? When are we going to be out of this fact-finding analysis stage?
That's a very good question. We're hoping to have a better answer for you next month to let you know where we're at. So I'm hoping within 30 days we can have a better answer on the feasibility.
And how long has the team been working on this?
Since you asked us to put the button on, which I believe was at the February 23rd, 2022 meeting.
So February, March, April, okay. We're moving along, I suppose.
We are.
Well, let's just keep in mind that accessing this information is critical. Not everyone speaks English. We have to respect that with people where people are. And particularly when I think about how rich the information is and dense the information is on our website, Prop 19 information, it's just really critical that we really stay focused and move urgently to allow that translate button to get on there. We know that there's precedent. We know that the governor's office has one. We know the Franchise Tax Board has this feature, so we know that it is doable. So let's keep pushing. Please relay my message to the team.
I will, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fleming, Ms. Stowers, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. Colleagues, anything? Yes, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, I would just echo your thoughts, but also thank you, because I know I've been bugging you folks on just Prop 19 stuff, and as I look at this, just appreciate all the work that you've been doing to keep up with this, because there's so many moving parts with Prop 19 as we're finding, as we get more and more calls and questions from folks that are going through this process. Because my offices we get constant calls on this, and some of them we don't have the answers for just yet, but thank you for that.
Thank you. I'll let the team know. They get all the credit.
Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Ms. Renati for your efforts on that translate issue, and just want to reiterate that what a great opportunity to use technology. I'm hoping it can integrate and all work, but it seems like it would be a daunting task if we didn't have technology. So it seems like it's available, and we can integrate it and get it functional. So that's exciting. I was also wanting, if you don't mind, can you just give us an overview in terms of personnel, in terms of where we started with vacancies and where we are, just in rough terms? Because it's been dramatic. It's taken a couple of years, but we have filled so many positions, and I think it's helpful for the public to be aware of that in terms of where we started and where we are now.
Thank you for your question. In the last about 22 months, let's say 2 years, we've filled 65 positions. Those include from bringing people in the door from outside, brand new employees, up through promoting into our ranks. In this time, we've also had people we brought in who promoted since they've been here, so they get a couple counts there in the count. Our vacancies, we still have our vacancy rates that we're still working at and plugging along. And now the team is working we're augmenting our recruitment and trying to get more people into the door. And as we, being on Jeopardy, perhaps will help to get people want to work for our agency. But we are working those efforts every day, and it's part of our weekly management meetings of where we are, where we're going.
Good. And our vacancy rate currently isn't it pretty consistent with
it's
other state agencies?
It's consistent with other agencies, and, we're not the only agency that's having difficulty bringing people in.
Right.
But we are not outside of the norm.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, great. Let's go to,
Next item.
yes, please.
The next item is K1D, Executive Director's Report, Operational Priorities. Report on the status of operational priorities. Excuse me, K1E.
Okay.
Excuse me. Executive Director's Report, Proposition 19 Implementation Project. Report on the status of the agency's Proposition 19 Implementation Project. This matter will be presented by Ms. Renati.
Thank you. For the record, I'm Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. Today, I will provide an update on our Prop 19 implementation project. A high-level implementation plan is attached to today's agenda, and I'm happy to report that the status of our implementation of Prop 19 is green. As you know, our Prop 19 implementation project has been in place for about 18 months. Staff continues to ensure taxpayers and stakeholders have the information they need, and we continue to look for ways to improve our ability to provide information as needed. Starting this month, I will provide a brief update on the approximate number of unique external page views the BoE's Prop 19 webpage has received since November 10th, 2020. As of yesterday, the webpage has received approximately 315,500 unique external page views. That's an additional 35,000 unique external page views since February 2020. In addition, this month, the Taxpayers' Rights Advocate's Office, along with the Communications Department, released the updated Proposition 19 fact sheet. Ms. Wing from the Taxpayers' Rights Advocate's Office will address more on the fact sheet later in her report. And this concludes my presentation on this topic. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I just want to publicly recognize the hard work and give credit where credit is due. I think that it has just been incredible to see the BoE team step up and organize and provide this level of leadership and clarity in a pretty unclear piece of legislation. Also want to highlight that the implementation work that, for the passage of a Senate Bill 539, which was authored by Senator Hertzberg, that provided the statutory language needed to implement this constitutional amendment. So I think people are knowledgeable about the initiative process, but the reality, once things become law passed by voters, the implementation, I think the real work really does begin in the implementation, particularly when you're dealing with legislation that has such a cultural change and really a change in how we conduct business. And as you heard in the previous presentation, a very important element, $85 billion system we're talking about. So Prop 19 really, as the tech folks say, was a disruptor and changed our business model. But we have assessed and reassessed, and no pun intended, but we are honoring the call to taxpayers, and each of us have joined in that spirit, and it's just been phenomenal. Also noting that we have understaffed agency, and that you're also doing double time trying to fill up. So the Board of Equalization, they were up to the challenge. Prop 19, the portal, the BOE's website, is just an expression of countless hours of difficult technical work and communicating that needs to be acknowledged, and I just want to publicly acknowledge that. Thank you for that. This work is being completed in a timely fashion, and ironically, there's still work that needs to be done. There's still a lot of questions that are out there, and so I just want to close by complimenting the Board of Equalization staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I'd like to also compliment the members, and thank you for your leadership and helping us through this process.
Thank you, appreciate that. Senator Gaines.
It just reminded me, I had a Prop 19 question. I don't know if we need David or not to answer it.
I'm sure we need David, yes.
Yes. Just in terms of clarity, because I've got a lot of constituents that
You can sit over there.
that ask about passing property on to a child. And they say, well, we're just going to change the title into our child's name. And I said, I don't think there's a path to do that. I know that Prop 19 triggers upon death of the owner of the property. But if you had parents that wanted to give property to a child, don't you run up against gifting? And isn't there a limitation on gifting of property or anything else for that matter?
Thank you, Board Member Gaines, for that question. There are many considerations that a parent will have to basically weigh when transferring any asset to one of their heirs, be it a real estate or any type of asset. So there are income tax concerns, and there's property tax concerns, real property concerns. They may run into income tax considerations, but most importantly, as it pertains to real estate, just changing the title to their child is only the first step of it. You actually do need to make an application in order to get that benefit. So if you have an opportunity when speaking to your constituents, make sure that the holistic
Right.
process is
Right.
conveyed to them. If they believe that just changing the title is enough to pass on the base year value, it is not. There is an application
Right.
process. So that is very important.
Okay, and is that laid out on our website? So if I'm trying to figure out how to handle these questions by
Yes.
constituents, so they could go to the website.
Yes.
Of course, we could have our own staff look into it too for them, but.
Of course, we have, on our website, we actually have a dedicated page to Prop 19, and in there are FAQs frequently asked questions, and one of the questions actually does address the issue of having the actual application and the process. We also have our letters to assessors, be it they are written for assessors and are a little bit more technical. There is that available. And thirdly, I will have to also acknowledge our TRA. They are in the process of developing basically a fact sheet that would give information to actual taxpayers. And very lastly, the application is made at the local level. I always encourage taxpayers to contact the local assessor and to have them contact them directly and go through their process.
Okay, that's great. And then I think what I'll do is I'll follow up with my staff so that we understand that clearly in our office when these calls come in.
Okay,
So thank you.
of course.
All right, seeing that there are no other questions, let's continue. Yes, Ms. Towers?
Madam Chair, thank you. You asked a question regarding the personal income tax revenue?
Yes.
Thanks to Mr. Dustin Weatherby, I have that information in front of me.
Okay.
98.7 billion, year-to-date,
98.7 billion.
2021, 2022. 98.7 billion. That's 11.7% increase, and that represents the numbers through March 2022. It does not include April 18th,
Got it.
which will increase that
Yes.
dramatically.
You're right.
And that is actually coming from the Department of Finance Bulletin.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the team that got
Could I
that.
clarify? Just
Yes, please,
in
go
reference
ahead.
to that, is that an annualized number, or is that
No.
actual receipts to date?
Actual receipts.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's continue.
We're ready to see if we have a public comment on these items. We haven't received any requests in person and no written comments on this item, but we will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment on this item.
Thank you. If you wish to make a public comment, please press 1 then 0. And there are no public comments at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's hear the next item.
We had scheduled a small break. We have an administrative item that we'd like to take care of, if we could break for 5 minutes.
Sure.
All
All
right.
right, it's 11:05. We'll break for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item is K2A, Chief Counsel Report, Legal Workload Quarterly Report, General Discussion on the Legal Department's workload over the last 3 months. This matter will be presented by Mr. Nanjo.
All right, Mr. Nanjo.
Thank you very much. Again, good morning, Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Schaefer, and honorable members of the board. Henry Nancho, Chief Counsel. Today, I'm presenting the Legal Department's quarterly report covering the first quarter of 2022. Before reporting on our regular ongoing work, I wanted to report back to the board regarding its direction that we take a look at the appeals process, particularly in light of the recent Verizon decision. Along with our partners, the Board Proceedings Division and the State Assessed Properties Division, the legal team has been working on the holistic review requested by the board. In this process, we were able to share lessons learned and committed to continuing to improve the onboarding and training of staff. We have also identified some specific improvements, both for immediate implementation and for longer-term projects. At this time, I'm pleased to report that the team has completed the holistic review requested by the board, and I will provide some detail on these specific improvements today. The review resulted in 2 specific improvements for implementation prior to this year's appeals season and several longer-term items that we're continuing to look at. First, for implementation prior to this year's appeal season, we reviewed the joint recommendation confirmation email text utilized during the last 2021 appeals season. As a reminder, once SAPD and the petitioner have reached an agreement on all the issues, the State Assessed Properties Division, or SAPD, has been requesting written confirmation of that agreement from the petitioner via email. That confirmation email acknowledges that all issues have been resolved and the parties have agreed to the joint recommendation of the stated value to be submitted for the board's consideration. The email also states that the board's approval of the joint recommendation will constitute a resolution of all issues raised by the petitioner, and informs the petitioner that, consistent with the Verizon case, the petitioner will have no right to file an action in Superior Court to seek a lower value after the joint recommendation is approved. As a result of our review, we have edited the email for clarity and instituted an internal requirement that a copy of the confirmed email be included in the confidential joint recommendation package sent to board members for consideration at the board meeting during the appeals season. Second, we will be proposing amendments to the State Assessment Manual, or SAM. Specifically, the SAM was reviewed for language regarding joint recommendations and the Verizon case. We have determined that the SAM should be amended to add language to the overview of the appeals process section, which will clarify that a resolution of all issues prior to the hearing will be presented to the board as a joint recommendation for value for the board's approval, and will state that if the board approves the joint recommendation, the assessee will be barred from filing a court action to seek a lower value consistent with the Verizon case's holding. We believe that this additional coverage of the recent Verizon case will increase transparency and understanding of the joint recommendation process for all petitioners consistent with the board's request. Additionally, in our holistic review, the team has also identified a few areas for further review that may result in longer-term projects. For example, the legal team believes that there may be a need for clarity regarding certain amendments to the rules for tax appeals. Further, we will review the need for additional guidance regarding ex parte communications. The legal team will begin reviewing the rules for tax appeal to determine whether amendments are necessary to clarify the ban on ex parte communications throughout the appeals process. Another area is the streamlining of communications internally within the department for efficiency. The legal department will engage in additional review and analysis during the next 2 quarters. If amendments are needed, we would estimate bringing rulemaking proposals for the board's consideration in early 2023 to avoid any conflicts with this year's 2022 appeals process. I thank the board for the opportunity to provide a report back on the board's assignment regarding the holistic review of the appeals process. I have no other remarks related to the legal department's appeals workload at this time, but would anticipate providing remarks on our appeals workload again in the third quarter later this year, as by that time the appeals process will be underway. Moving on to litigation. Members, as you know, our litigation attorney continues to provide confidential monthly written reports to the board, as well as providing appropriate public updates to our website. In general, we're seeing that due to the COVID protocols in effect, many courts have continued to delay or postpone hearings, which has resulted in a bit of a holding pattern in many cases. However, we continue to closely monitor and handle the board's litigation cases and will continue to keep you informed and updated of any developments. We also regularly provide updates to the BoE public litigation roster so the public is provided sufficient information in the interest of transparency. Next, I'll provide some remarks on our Public Records Act disclosure requests workload. In the first quarter, we had completed 74 PRAs or disclosure inquiries. The work is steady, ongoing, and experiencing a bit of an uptick in this first quarter. We note that the workload depends on the volume of public inquiries. We expect work in this category to continue in quarter two, as public inquiries come in. Moving on to the administration or support of Board Proceedings Division and in the Executive Office. Members, as you recall, administration assignments are typically requested by the Board Proceeding Division or Executive Office, covering various administrative or board meeting-related legal issues. In the first quarter, we completed 6 such requests in this area. We continue to provide this support to Board Proceedings as well as the Executive Office as needed. In the area of publications review, members, the legal department completed 46 legal reviews in the first quarter. These publications include items originated from the Property Tax Department, Communications Department, and other agency publications. We expect this work to continue in the second quarter as well. In the area of regulations, in the first quarter of 2022, we presented to the board the proposed adoption of amendments to Appendices A and B to Regulation 6001 containing the board's Conflict of Interest Code. At the March 22nd board meeting, the March 22 board meeting, the board authorized staff to initiate the rulemaking process related to these amendments. Staff is in the process of drafting notice documents, and once completed, staff will submit the initial rulemaking package to the Office of Administrative Law and notice all employees of the comment period. Moving on to our Proposition 19 rules, as a reminder, property tax rules 462.520 and 462.540 went into effect on January 1st, 2022. However, to further implement SB 539, staff issued letters to assessors in anticipation of proposed emergency rulemaking related to our Proposition 19 regulations. These LTAs will include the solicitation of initial comments prior to the emergency rulemaking process. We anticipate presenting both emergency rulemaking packages to the board at the May meeting, after the staff receives the input from the California Assessors Association, which is meeting this week. In the second quarter, the legal staff will continue to work with the Property Tax Department and make progress on our rulemaking calendar efforts. We anticipate additional regulatory work later this year and will bring proposals to the board under our rulemaking item at future board meetings. The legal department will continue to look for future regulatory updates and revisions to bring to the board. In the area of the tax program or technical advice, the first quarter yielded the team responding to 16 email inquiries and 19 phone call inquiries. Finally, members, for the first quarter, the legal department issued a total of 4 legal opinions or memos, including both the property tax technical advice opinions and the internal board meeting related chief counsel memoranda. In closing, I want to again extend my appreciation to my team for their exemplary work efforts during the first quarter. Members, this concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Colleagues, Mr. Vasquez, and then we'll go with Mr. Gaines. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Najo, in your opening remarks, you mentioned, and it sounds like we're going back to that Verizon case with your opening remarks.
Yes.
Were you looking to put together a form or a letter of some sort that, it states that there's an agreement? Is that what we're looking at? Or is it just more of a verbal understanding?
No, there's going to be an email confirmation. What we've done is we've taken the existing structure for this year, and we've added additional language to make sure that the petitioners know the effect of the Verizon case and the impact of them agreeing to a joint recommendation.
Yeah, I was just a little concerned because moving forward, I don't know if there's any exposure if we don't have something in writing and they come back later to this board and try to appeal this thing, saying that they didn't agree on something, if there isn't anything signed. And I guess to show more transparency, which you kind of touched on as well.
Yes, so we are going to have something from the petitioner. That's the email confirmation that I referred to in my remarks, and that will be part of the package that the board receives, so you can verify that that has been done. As far as a form or something more formal, the challenge there is a form would require, we'd have to be careful that we're not inadvertently creating an underground rule or regulation, so that would be a longer process. We can put that into consideration for our longer look. We kind of broke this up into two phases, if you will. Because the state assessed appeals season is starting now. I mean, honestly, state assessed appeals have already started doing their numbers and talking to their assessees. We didn't want to impact this season or cause changes for this season. So the first part was, how can we make this clear to our petitioners and make sure that there's a clear understanding? And we're doing that by augmenting the language in the emails and the documents that we currently use. Then, for future, we're looking at making additional changes and putting things in the State Administrative Manual, in other publications that take a longer process, because typically we work with the public, we do, we get inquiries, we try to do a collaborative approach in for those kind of changes. So that's we're looking at for next year's state assessed season.
That's what I'm more interested in, I guess, as we move forward, because you're right kind of in the thick of it now. But as we move forward, I would be definitely supportive, and I don't know how the board feels, that if you want to bring back, but I don't know if that means like a rule change or something moving forward, where you actually have something in writing that we can use in the event that they try to challenge it after the fact, for example.
Yeah, we'll look into all those things. Obviously, again, for the longer term, we want to be as clear and transparent as possible.
Appreciate it. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you for the question.
Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, I just had a question. You mentioned ex parte rules, so are those being examined?
So what that's identifying is, as the board members know, once you get into your adjudicatory role, ex parte rules apply to you. I think not all of our petitioners or assessees may realize that those rules changed and that ex parte rules apply to them as well, right? They should not be reaching out to board members once you start your adjudicatory process. Right. So this is part of our effort in identifying, hey, this is a good thing to give a heads up to the public to know, so that they don't inadvertently contact board members when it's not appropriate.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, because if you have someone who is a state assessee that doesn't have anything coming before the board, then we as members can meet with those individuals. Is that accurate?
As long as they don't have a pending matter in front of the board or,
Right.
or intending to file an appeal with the board, yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that clarification would be helpful too for us as members, so that we
Absolutely.
just understand clearly what we can and cannot do. But I'm glad you're reviewing that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, members.
We ready to take public comment?
Yes, please.
We have not received a request for any in-person speaker and no written comments for this item. We will go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, to make public comment by phone, press 1-0, please. And at this time, we have no respondents.
Great, thank you. Let's call the next item.
Yes. The next item is K3A, Property Tax Deputy Director's Report, Second District County Assessors Issues. Report out on issues raised by Second District County Assessors during the annual meeting of the Board of Equalization and County Assessors. This matter will be presented by Mr. Young.
Good morning, Chair Cohen, honorable members of the board. My name is David Young, Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department. This morning, I will report on the issues raised by District 2's assessors during the last year's annual board assessor meeting. There were 5 items, 5 issues raised in that addendum in December. So I will address each one individually, and I will be available for any questions you may have. The first item raised was training for members of the Assessment Appeals Board. County Assessment Appeals Boards resolve disputes between county assessors and taxpayers over the values of locally assessed property. It has been suggested that a training program be established to provide guidance to AAB on valuation issues. So here are some of my preliminary findings.
Okay.
So at first, what I did was I actually went through and reviewed the qualifications needed in order to serve as an AAB member. The qualifications are set by Revenue Taxation Code 1624. Those qualifications are: a person is not eligible for nomination for membership on an assessment appeals board unless he or she meets one of the following criteria. A, has a minimum of 5 years professional experience in the state as a certified public accountant or public accountant, a licensed real estate broker, an attorney, a property tax appraiser accredited by a nationally recognized professional organization, or a property appraiser certified by the Office of Real Estate Appraisers. B, is a person who the nominating members of the Board of Supervisors has reason to believe is possessed of competent knowledge of property appraisal and taxation. So there's two paths to serving on the Assessment Appeals Board for a local Board of Equalization. They have to either, one, meet the 5-year requirements, or the Board of Supervisors has to deem them qualified to do so. So also in Revenue Taxation Code 1624.01, there is a requirement for assessment appeals boards to basically take a course and pass it within 1 year. So training required by Section 1624.01 includes an overview of assessment processes, elements in the conduct of assessment appeals hearings, and important developments in case and statutory laws and administrative rules. The training course will be conducted by either the Board of Equalization or by the county at the county's option. The curriculum for the course of training will be developed in consultation with the county boards of supervisors, the administrators of the assessment appeals boards, assessors, and local property tax representatives. And that is also embedded in our assessment appeals manual. So the board has developed that training, and it is available on our website. It is a self-study course. The base of that training is our assessment appeals manual. So there is a guided self-paced course, and that fulfills that requirement. So the county has the option of having their board members take that, or they can do their training themselves. There is a requirement that they actually do pass that class take that class within the first year of them serving.
Would Board of Equalization members be able to access this information and take it as well?
Yes, the course is available on our website. There is a portion under training. If you click there, it actually differentiates between assessors, AABs, and so you could actually, if you go under AAB, that course will be available, and it's available for anybody. So it's a self-paced course. You take it, you send in the questions to the board, and the board will actually review them and correct them. So it is available. So that training is currently available, and it is on our website.
Mr. Young, how long is that train? I know you said self-paced, but is there an estimated time? You know, with a lot of our trainings, when you think about our ethics,
yeah.
it'll say,
What's-
going through this training will take you 3 hours, it will
Right,
take you an
right.
hour. Do you have any
Ms.
ideas?
Schultz, do you recall what the actual hours for that
Or
training
an
is?
average?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
Okay.
It is actually quite a robust training course. It follows our assessment appeals manual, which is approximately 30 or 40 pages long.
Okay.
So I would imagine it would take somebody at the very minimum 12 to 15 hours to get through. So
Okay.
it is quite a robust course. What also is available online for us is we have other self-study courses. I believe there's at least 30 of them, and they have various aspects of training on assessment issues, on appraisal issues, and on a lot of topics that are just germane to property taxes. The valuation of possessory interests, of property that is basically under a California Land Conservation Act. So very, very specific property tax type issues. That, I believe, my last count was there's a little over 30 of them. Those courses are, once again, self-paced. They average between 2, 3, and I think some of them may be a little bit longer, about 4 hours. And once again, they're available on our website. Anybody could take them. We do not exclude anybody from taking those. So those are also available. And we also have another course that's available through a junior college, the American River College. It is our basic appraisal course. It is the course that most new employees of either assessor's office or the board, they take that course in preparation to get certified as a appraiser for property tax purposes. That is available. It is taught by a board employee as an adjunct professor. But it is through a junior college. It is their course. You register and pay their fees, and you are able to take it. It is a semester course. So we have a fair amount of courses available. As the issue concerns D2's assessors, we have been in contact with the assessors. We have asked, and we've had discussions with your assessors, D2, and we are committed to meeting with them to see exactly what they are wishing their AABs to actually, what type of topics they wish to have training in. The ideal would be some of those topics are already covered with our self-study and online courses, and either they're covered through the AAB mandatory course, the 30-plus courses that we give as a self-study, or through the American River College. So we have some of those courses already. We're just trying to get inventory of their needs, give them basically an inventory of the courses that we cover, the scope of what was covered, and hopefully some of those will match.
How are you taking the inventory of what the assessors need? Is it through conversation? Is it through survey?
It's through, right now, we've had conversation, it's been through conversation, but we have a commitment from one of the assessors to actually compile a list of topics, issues, and areas they wish to have training in for their AABs.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from my assessors in District 2 is that they're excited about the training module. They love that it's accessible. They want more. They're
Okay.
hungry for more. I'm sure you've heard this before as well.
Yes.
And so as you develop these modules, do you write the curriculum yourself? Is it, or how exactly does it come about?
The modules that are out there, a lot of it is based on our handbooks that we've already written, and they're already board-approved guidance. Some of it is updated annually. We have a module on legislation that has passed for that year. And we're trying to develop modules that are pertinent to new developments. Our goal is permitting staff, resources, and whatnot. We would love to do a module on Prop 19. Topical, it's of interest to many, and it's basically new ground.
Right, so I'd imagine we'd be pulling from the FAQs that are on the website.
Yes.
Pulling from the questions that come in.
Right.
As well as just of our lived experience. How
Absolutely.
close are you to creating that Prop 19 module?
We, once again, as resources and time permits, our training staff, we have 2 full-time trainers, and so we're working them really hard. Right now, our focus is basically meeting the training needs of the assessors. We have a different level of responsibility to train assessors. And so in the last 2 years, we transitioned from live in-person classes
Right.
to all online, and now we're transitioning back, and we're trying to do a hybrid. So we're focused on their training needs first. AABs are definitely of concern, but we're statutorily, it's a different level of responsibility for the assessor's offices. So we are definitely looking into it. We are already fairly content-rich on that. The challenge in developing these courses, these are modules. They're made to be relatively brief, relatively condensed, and relatively concise. We realize that our courses, our full-day course, our full courses, they're 4+ days with an exam at the end. It can be a challenge for for anybody to find that kind of time and commitment to take that type of courses. So we concentrate them so that they're about 3 hours. They're concise. They give you what is needed, and they're just that. They're just modules to introduce, and we try to provide them with a lot of resources in there.
All right, thank you for answering my questions. Any questions, colleagues? Yes, Mr. Gaines?
Just a question of clarification in terms of our authority versus county supervisors with regards to appeals boards. So ultimately, anything that we come up with would have to be approved at the county level, would it not? Wouldn't they have to make a decision in terms of what the proper training would be for members on their assessment appeals board?
The Assessment Appeals Board answers and works too, and their budget is controlled by the Board of Supervisors of that county.
Yes, okay.
They are only required to take one course by statute in order to sit on the Assessment Appeals
Okay,
Board.
okay, so that's statute, so that's,
Yeah.
okay, that came from the legislature.
It came from the
signed by
legislature.
governor. Okay,
It is embedded in Revenue Taxation Code 1624.
Okay.
Any additional training they wish to require would be a local issue.
right, okay, very well, thank you.
Mr. Gaines, I just wanted to acknowledge that we are also engaging in this process, trying to facilitate the coming
No, I didn't-
together.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure, trying to understand what the authority of the county was versus what we're doing as a BoE. And then also what the county assessor's authority is.
Mr. Vasquez?
Just a quick question. You mentioned you were talking about the assessors now. Do you know, what's their concept of this, the structure, I guess, of this new grant program?
The new grant program?
Yes, for
Oh,
the-
okay.
Or are you going to touch on it a little later?
I was going to touch on that.
I'll
I was
wait,
going to go,
I'll wait.
I will go down all 5 items.
I'll
at
give
you.
you a chance.
Okay, of course.
Please continue.
Okay, of course. Then the next item brought up is training for county councils. Once again, we've had discussions with D2's assessors, and there is a desire for training for their county councils. I just wanted, some of my preliminary findings is that there is no statutory requirement we provide training to county councils. But that being said, we do have all those courses that I mentioned for the AABs available. It is on our website. They are able to look at it. They're able to use it. The American River College one through the JC, the junior college, is available. They register as anybody is able to do so. But I do mind you, it is a one semester course. It is a little bit of a commitment, but it is a very complete and robust course, and it is taught by us. And where our online self-study courses, they're already posted. There are over 30 of them. They're welcome to take it. Our commitment to, we may not be able to grade them and give them credits for continuing ed, because there is no requirement for us, for county councils to have continuing ed education as it pertains to this type of property tax. And so, once again, we are discussing it with D2's, District 2's assessors. They are amongst their list of desires and topics. We're hoping that some of them do actually fall in line with what they wish for their AABs, and that we can meet some of their needs with already existing type courses.
Any questions so far? Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
The third item on the December L1A issues was the acceptance of electronic signatures. So it has been suggested that the requirement for wet signature on documents submitted to county assessors' offices be eliminated. So I did a little bit of research, and I took a look at what the current state is. Currently now, Government Code Section 16.5A allows any written communication with a public entity in which a signature is required. Any party to that communication to affix a signature by the use of a digital signature, and that digital signature will have the same force and effect as the use of a manual signature if it embodies all of the following attributes. So there's 5, I won't list them, but there are 5 requirements they have to meet. And anything that you have to turn in to a public agency, including the assessor, if you meet Government Code 16.5, you're able to go ahead and file it electronically. A wet signature is not required. There is one actually a little bit of a difference for a business property statement, otherwise known as a BPS. A business property statement is something each assessee files to declare their taxable business property, not realty, but just, like computers and whatnot. So there's a requirement in Revenue Taxation Code 441K that in order to accept those electronically, you have to basically get the approval from the board. So I did a pretty broad-based survey and looked at what is the state of electronic filing for all 58 counties within the state of California. So as it stands today, there are 36 counties that are on one particular third-party computer system. That computer system already comports to 16.5. So they're able to accept electronic signatures. And on top of that, that computer system, if those 36 counties already have board approval to accept electronic business property statements. So 36 counties already have the ability to do so. That leaves 22 other counties out there.
Question,
Yes.
if I could, through the chair, just a
Of course.
clarification. So we reference board. Are you talking about the BoE, or are you talking about a county board, or?
Oh, No, board approval to accept that, I'm talking about the Board of Equalization.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so the Board of Equalization is, for those 36 counties, I've already approved their protocol to
Thank you.
accept electronic signature.
Great, okay.
So out of the remaining 22 counties, I've taken a look at those, and they already, and they are either one, on a different system that already has our pre-approval, or they have basically gotten their pre-approval through an assessor's program. It's called SDR. It's called Standard Data Reports. It's the assessors developed it, and they've gotten our approval. If you file a business property statement with this SDR or ESDR, their authentication has already been approved. And then the other few that are not either of a system that has our pre-approval, or is one of the 36, or is through SDR or ESDR, we've given those remaining counties our approval explicitly. They've requested and we've given it to them. So all counties, as we stand right now, have the ability to basically accept electronic filings. And my initial search through all their websites, they all have basically functions where you can file certain things electronically. Are they all 100% complete, the whole gamut of forms? That may or may not be 100% complete, but they already have the ability to do so. So we have identified.
Mr. Young, we have another follow-up,
Just
sorry.
another question.
Oh, of course.
From a cybersecurity perspective,
Right.
that's all vetted and
Yeah.
we're okay?
Yes. So with that Government Code 16.5, there is a requirement that they meet certain rules, regulations set by the Secretary of State, and they control what all cybersecurity, what security elements are necessary.
Okay.
So
Very good.
yeah. So there is another agency, but basically
Yeah, because if we're granting the authorization, then
yeah,
we've got to make sure that we're okay from a cyber perspective, or
Right.
that's really our responsibility, isn't it?
It is for the business property statements. For everything else, they do not need our board approval. It's as long as you meet that Government Code 16.5 and
Okay.
the Secretary of State's
Okay.
regulations, you're good to go.
Okay, very well,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. So we have identified one county who has some issues and some concerns about whether all of the forms are able to fall under 16.5. We are committed to working with them, and we will review their concerns. Specifically, they had a couple concerns about welfare forms, so we will take a look at that and see if they do indeed fall in there.
I just want to go back a little bit to some of the previous statements that you made about wet signatures.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to further discussions and an associated report out on the electronic signatures. I think this is really an interesting space.
It is.
It's like we're stuck between the 20th and the 21st century. A lot of our business and our practices require wet signatures, and then there are some that don't. And so I think that consistency is going to be really important, particularly as we communicate them to the taxpayers. So I understand that we are all committed to further examining this item and making sure that we identify any of the possible issues that require our attention. And I look forward to hearing your analysis. It appears that there are several concerns that exist. We've had, I think, many hearings on this for the last year and a half on this particular topic. Concerns around the requirements to comply. And so once you complete the analysis, if any issues surface, I hope that we will be able to determine whether actions are necessary. And I would imagine that the conversation would be very robust with not only our staff, but also the stakeholders, the representatives for the taxpayers, the assessors, and anyone else that I'm not thinking at the top of my mind, but just wanted to put that out there on the record. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you. The fourth item, if I may, the fourth item on the December agenda was the review of depreciation, depreciation, valuation guidance, and schedules. So it has been just suggested that the board review its depreciation, valuation guidance, and schedules to ensure the valuation procedures, methods, and recommendations are consistent with contemporary values. So my initial findings are that of the handbooks enumerated, at 3 of them are produced annually. Those are they're updated annually. Those are the AH Assessor's Handbooks 531, which provides that information for buildings. The Assessor's Handbook 534 provides the same information for rural buildings and structures. And then the AH 581. So every year, as a matter of course, we take a look at, not only do we review the methodology in which that data is compiled, but we also take a very close scrutiny of the actual inputs that we use. So on those, yes, we hear you, we're already doing it, and we do it consistently every year, and we bring it before the board for action and consideration. So that part we are already doing. There is a methodology handbook in that listed. It's the 582, and that is a book that basically delineates the methodologies, assumptions, formulas, and whatnot that we use in order to come up with that. So that is amongst our handbooks to be reviewed, but I just will let you know that the review of a handbook, especially one that is so technically dense, is a long-term project. The review itself is probably about 6 months. If there's any revision, interested parties, processes, and whatnot, that will add at least another year to it. So we are taking a look at it. We're taking a look at it informally now, and we're. I do not expect many revisions or many changes to that. It is a methodology handbook. The way to come up with this type of information, the math formulas do not change too much over time, but we are committed to taking a look at that. We have met once again with D2 assessors, and there was one concern brought up. The concern was from a county that have had questions about basically the useful life of a certain type of a business property equipment. So we have been in contact with them. We're committed to talking with them and to see what all is the issue, and then to do some feasibility as to what exactly, how do we solve your issue if it is ours to solve. So we are in contact with the county with a very specific desire and need for some guidance.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
I have one last item, and
All right.
that is number 5.
Okay.
And that is the enhanced funding for state supplementation for county assessors program. It has been suggested that expanding this program could be beneficial due to prior successes in utilizing the program, the grant funds, to address technology and personnel challenges in local assessors' offices. So we have taken, by the way of background, the State of California's 2018 Budget Act appropriated approximately $5 million to create the state supplementation for county assessors programs, or otherwise known as SCAP. This 3-year pilot program was created to provide funding to assist county assessors in performing property assessments. SCAP funds are available for both new assessment staff and technological improvements, and require a local match at the rate of one local dollar for every two county receives through the SCAP funding. So the SCAP funding, that was 2018, it's a 3-year program. It did not get continued for this year.
Right, can you talk to us why, the reasons? What was the logic? What was the reason why that was given?
The reason, I'm not a,
Because it's a popular program.
It's a
I hear
popular
about it
program.
from assessors all the time. When you ask them what do they want, what do they need, this is the one thing that they definitely
yeah,
ask for.
I hesitate a little bit to speak on their behalf. I'm sure they had issues with either.
When you say they, you mean the Department of Finance?
Department of Finance probably had issues with its effectiveness, or maybe it was just a numbers
Was it an audit
issue.
performed? I mean, how was their analysis given or presented to you, saying, we're not going to extend the SCAP, and here are our reasons why? What,
There was an audit performed, to be quite frank with you. I've only had a very, very
brief moment to look
brief
at it?
moment to skim it. It is a very, very dense document, and I do not want to mischaracterize any of their issues or whatnot with SCAP. But be that as it may,
So, do you think that it's more a product of the administration's priorities? It's just, meaning that it's just not a priority?
I
don't wanna put words in
I don't
people's
want to put
mouth.
words
Okay.
in their mouth. I do not.
Okay.
I do not know.
I won't lean in,
Yeah, okay.
but I wanted just to know what you knew, so
Right.
they're willing to share. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. So in very brief, general, there is the program, as I understand it. I've been in property taxes for the greater part of 2 decades and a little bit. I'm familiar with the programs prior to SCAP. There was PTAP, and there was a successor program to
Right.
that. They started out as basically loans that were forgivable if they met certain measures, and now it is basically a grant program, and it's a matching grant program. It requires a local money along with, to be used in conjunction with their matching grant money.
Let me just say this, I think that it's unfortunate that it wasn't funded when you consider how robust our state budget is during this particular budget cycle. And the SCAP program greatly benefits, frankly, assessors in your district, Senator Gaines, those that just need the extra money to help them perform their tasks in a lot of the rural areas. And I think that it is short-sighted for it not to be funded. And I'm going to continue to push that the SCAP program become a priority. If not this administration, perhaps the future administration. But I hope that the Board of Equalization will be able to join with me as we continue to push and make this a priority. Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
All right, no need to belabor it. Let's keep moving forward. I know there are people sending me text messages that are ready to go for a break. Mr. Young, is there anything else that you have for us?
Yes, with your permission, I think B is up next.
Do you want to go to the next item, or did you want to take a lunch break at this point?
Let's take a break and let everyone regroup. How long is our break scheduled to be?
30 minutes is what we scheduled for
Okay,
today.
so it is 12:25. We will reconvene at 12:35 this afternoon. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your lunch.